Hello guys, welcome to this fresh series of Mentoring Mantra by Vision CA. In Mentoring Mantra, we have conversations with our esteemed mentors who cater selfless service to the CA community as well as help CA students in pursuit of CA degree. I am your host Harleen Kaur and I am an inter-mentor at Vision CA. I cleared my CA intermediate with All India rank 37 and I am currently doing articleship from one of the big fours. And here we have with us today mentor Aashay Patankar. He is a qualified chartered accountant and is a core team member of Vision CA. He is currently pursuing LLB along with teaching CA students. Coming to his CA journey, he secured an All India rank 31 in his CA final attempt, an All India rank 34 in his CA intermediate attempt, and did an articleship from one of the big fours and managed all that along with regular college. Apart from studies, he is an avid reader, interested in public speaking, and also has keen interest in cricket. Welcome to the show, Aashay.
Yeah, thank you, Harleen. My pleasure to be here.
So coming to the first question, how did you decide to do CA?
Okay. So till the time I was in 9th or 10th standard, it was not decided as to what I should be doing. But in and around 10th standard, I had given one of the aptitude exams, which proved the fact beyond doubt that science was not my cup of tea, at least the mechanics and other aspects. So which left me with commerce as one of the options available. So I opted for it. And then my uncle happens to be a chartered accountant who influenced me to pursue CA course. And then I started, gave the CPT exam and then felt like, yes, this is a course I should be comfortable with.
Okay, so you were sure about doing CA after school. And what was the reason behind not going for correspondence and taking up regular college along with it? Like, it's difficult to manage both the things simultaneously, but you on the other hand managed to do great in both CA course as well as college. So how did you manage all that?
So the thing is, we never had the luxury, unlike you guys. When we were studying, CA course was not equivalent to any graduation or post-graduation degree. So for me, to ensure that I could continue with further studies, graduation was a must. Then talking of not doing correspondence, the reason is that being in a college helps you pursue other activities as well. So as you know very well, CA course is itself a correspondence course. So a question arises that is it going to happen that after 12th standard, I do not have a college life? And then with managing the CA, definitely your college life and activities you pursue gets reduced. But definitely you can do certain things here and there in the college. So that's the reason for opting regular college. And generally the students from this Mumbai region do that way. So yeah, most of them do it this way.
So you were a ranker at both inter and final levels. So what was your thought process like during the preparation? Like, did you aim for a rank since the beginning, or what was it exactly?
So for me, in the CA inter or CA IPCC, as we used to call it during our times, it got very difficult to predict exactly how to fetch a rank, because I had no idea about what marks will fetch me a rank or what kind of performance will fetch me how much marks. So the target was always process oriented. I had a syllabus, I had certain number of pages to complete, certain number of sums to solve, and certain number of concepts to absorb. I had a fixed deadline. We had our exams which started on 2nd May, so a deadline bhi tha. So what I did was I had process oriented targets and I kept a tab at least on a weekly basis whether those targets were achieved or not. And this helped me big time in CA IPCC. Never expected a rank. In fact, the joke is that I did not see the merit list during the first 2 or 3 hours after the result was declared. Somebody else told me, Asha, you have a rank. Then I came to know aisa bhi hota hai. We have to see somewhere else for the merit list. So yeah, never aimed for rank, at least during CA inter, and worked wonders. Then CA final strategy was shaped more or less on what I did during CA inter. So once again, I kept the process oriented targets. the sums, the pages, the concepts. And I kept on making sure that my targets were being achieved. So a periodical review hota tha, where I used to see whether whatever I had decided to be done, at least that is substantially achieved or not. Many people have that feeling कि एक बार इंटर में रैंक आ गया तो फाइनल में we should aim for the rank, and many actually achieve it. Many decide कि मुझे रैंक चाहिए और वो अचीव करते हैं. That's something very incredible, I would say. But for me, I felt there were two problems with this kind of ideology. The first one is rank is not entirely within your control, because you cannot predict how other people, other students are going to perform. It's the best 50 marks which fetch the rank. So it also depends on how others will perform, and you do not have control over that aspect. The second is the result oriented targets that we keep do not exactly have deliverables. Just to substantiate, let us say you decide कि मुझे CA final में so and so rank चाहिए. So how do you exactly know whether you are on the right track to achieve that rank or not? Because you need to have a review system set in periodically, weekly or monthly, whether you are on the right course or not. So what I decided was break down the result oriented target of getting the rank into few process oriented targets. That is completing the first reading before so and so date, finishing off at least 95% of the syllabus so that ज़्यादा कुछ option में ना रहे, and writing at least one paper for each of the subjects before I attempt the final exam. So that's how I pursued it. But there are various ideologies and everyone is right in their own way.
So coming to articleship, how did you decide that you will go for Big Four? Like, can you give us a brief about your experience?
Yeah, sure. So firstly, after CA IPCC, I discussed with a lot of my relatives, my friends, and certain seniors. Many of them were of the opinion that I should get into the Big Four because having a rank, it was not that difficult. So listening to the advice of many people, I opted for Big Four as against the small or mid-sized firms. Each articleship in each of these firms have their own advantages as well as the cons. However, I've then pursued audit because I was told that taxation or certain other departments which are available to the article would give you exposure of only one area of the whole business. While in audit, you get exposure about all the aspects of the business, even if it is a mota-moti exposure, even if it is an exposure which is not that in-depth. So that was the reason I opted for Big Four and chose the audit department. And then, yeah, I completed my articleship, 3 years of it in the Big Four.
Any tips you would like to give, like people like me who have just started with articleship, so that they could learn the most in this period?
So one thing I can tell you by my own personal experience is that we often tend to see articleship as a formality. We are supposed to work at a particular firm for 3 years, and only then we are eligible to be called as chartered accountants after clearing final exam. So we have a tendency of seeing this as a formality. While many things may get monotonous, and I do not deny that not all the days you will be learning one thing or the other, there are key takeaways from articleship. What I would recommend you guys who are just starting with their articleship is that try to see the learning in each and every activity. Even in the repetitions that form part of your work, जो भी तुम repeatedly करते जाते हो, even that shapes you and makes you better. Like just the act of putting in certain data and write or typing down certain things helped me improve my typing speed, helped me get grip over the Excel. So there are many things we feel are boring or monotonous, but at the end of the day, they also contribute in shaping ourselves at the end of those 3 years.
So you did your articleship from one of the Big Fours, and it is hyped that there is a lot of workload in articleship. How did you manage your...
I won't say it's a hype. Being there for 3 years, I won't say that it's a hype that there is a lot of work. Definitely there is. So yeah, it gets very difficult to balance the act. So somewhere you have to manage your workload. You being part of the Big Four have a lot of expectations. There are seniors constantly trying to ask you how much work is done and what have you completed the deliverables. On the second hand, there are regular classes because a CA final is not a thing which you can start during the leave period. You have to continuously study as well.
So coming to the main 16 days of exams, the 1.5 days before every subject, what was your approach during those days?
So there was no uniform approach, truth be told. But yeah, each subject has its own requirements during that 1.5 days. But I would say that your fate, how you would fare in the exam, is not exactly decided in those 1.5 days. And let me just elaborate why. Let's say a subject like FR takes around 20 to 25 days during the first reading, assuming you would be studying that one subject throughout, which again, I did not do myself, but around 200 plus hours will be enough for first reading of FR. The second time you read, it takes around 10 days to finish off that subject, because every time you revise, you will realize that the content gets consolidated and you take half the time. And I think you can substantiate it with your experience as well. So second revision, it comes to 5 days. Probably third revision, it comes to 2.5 days, which is exactly what you have before the first paper. FR is paper number 1. You follow the same process for every paper and you realize that the more you revise, the faster you get while revising the next time. So that's how I planned about it. The first reading was to make my first revision easier. The first revision was to make my second revision easier. And the second revision was to ensure that most of the contents get covered during those 1.5 days of leave available before every exam. Again, there was no homogeneous approach. Approach differed from subject to subject because expectations from each paper are different. And that's how my thought process was. But one thing I would like to address here is that those 1.5 days before the exam is game of nerves more than anything, because nobody is confident about their preparations. Nobody, absolutely nobody. Because I had an opportunity of interviewing many rankers, many single-digit rankers, and I asked them this question point blank: were you confident before attempting the exam that you would ace it? They were like, we are confident about doing it reasonably well, but to ace it, utna confidence is very difficult to have. So nobody is confident. It's all about how well you manage your nerves, how well you control the pressure, and without letting that pressure affect you, how well you are able to go about your routine, whatever you have planned for yourself.
Any tips that you would like to add up on how to handle those 3 hours and the 15 minutes reading time?
Yeah, definitely. So the thing is that since last few years, Institute has started giving the question papers, the non-MCQ question papers 15 minutes before the exam. And that is the reading time that you guys have. You get the descriptive questions before. So these 15 minutes are very crucial and they determine the fate of your paper during the next 3 hours. So I would strongly advise every one of you to be there in the exam hall and get the paper 15 minutes in advance, because I have seen many of my peers and many of my juniors as well who felt that we should study during those 10-15 hours as well and reach the exam hall exactly at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock when the exam is scheduled. During these 15 minutes of reading time, there are two aspects which you realize. One, you realize the difficulty level of the paper. एक prima facie idea आ जाता है कि paper कितना difficult है. And based on that, now you decide whether to solve the paper on a going concern basis or consolidate on or liquidation basis. That's how I can put it. If the paper is difficult, it's more about salvaging the marks from wherever possible. If the paper is as per what you expected, it's more about going gung-ho and trying to be as aggressive as possible. So reading the paper in that first 15 minutes determine how it is going to be. The second aspect is determining the chronology in which the questions are to be answered. Highly recommended that you start with such question which you are confident about. because it sets the tone for the rest of the paper. Secondly, that is your best attempt to try and impress the paper corrector. The first impression lasts for a long time. It may not be the last impression, but it lasts for a very long time. And that's the reason why it is always recommended to find out that question from where you are very confident that I'll put, and then go about, determine the chronology, determine which question to omit. And to the extent possible, don't start looking at the paper from question number 1. I'll tell you why. Because question number 1, most of the time, being a compulsory question, it happens to be the paper setter's baby. Because if I would have been a paper setter and I would have been very confident, if this is the question I see a lot of students making silly mistake, I will invariably put it as question number 1. I'll want everybody to attempt the best question I have set for them. And that's the reason many times we see, and Harleen, you can confirm that as well.
Yes, I
question
never
number
saw
1.
The first question at first. I always used to see the last question.
That's most of the times how the papers are set. The easier, I won't say that this will be the trend every time, and I won't want everybody to take it as a gospel of truth, but that's something I have also empirically observed. Question number 1 generally tends to be the most difficult of them all, and till the time you reach question number 5 or question number 6, the difficulty level eases to an extent you are able to answer it. So that's how generally those 15 minutes are shaped. Then within the 3 hours, you set some kind of intermediary targets, because you have around, after the MCQ is done, you have 4 papers of MCQ to the extent I know at final level, 4 or 5 papers of MCQ at inter level as well, and at the foundation level, couple of papers are strictly MCQ.
Are completely MCQ,
yeah. So for the non-MCQ papers, you have exactly half hour each for each question to attempt, and then remaining half an hour as a buffer zone. तो वैसा कोई एक strategy develop करना चाहिए कि I'll take 30 minutes or 10-15 or 5-10 minutes give or take for each question to attempt, and try to finish the paper at least 10-15 minutes before the scheduled last minute of the paper. फिर उतना time थोड़ा इधर उधर देखने को मिलता है. So that's how you plan about the papers. MCQ में 30-35 maximum 40 minutes for fetching those marks, which are MCQ 30 marks. And then for the remaining time, you split it between the questions which are there, descriptive. So yeah, it's about nerves more than anything else. Nobody goes to the exam unprepared. Gone are the days when we used to say, यार मेरा कोई पढ़ाई हुआ ही नहीं है, and we used to boast about not studying. अभी वो वैसा नहीं होता. हर कोई जो एग्जाम सेंटर में आता है पढ़ के आता है. And most of them have understood the things in the right context. It's more about how you handle that 3 hours of pressure.
Okay, so did it ever happen to you that an exam didn't go the way you expected?
Yeah, it happened, and I like to give a couple of examples. See, the worst thing that can happen is realizing that exam which I expected to be very nice, and I wrote in, as per my understanding, a very nice paper. After I come and I'm sleeping and I'm relaxing, I realize, oh shit, 8 marks ka silly mistake ho gaya. And that's something you can do nothing about. If I realize that paper is difficult right at the onset, 15 minutes of reading time, I exactly have an idea what to do. At least I know I have to salvage the marks. This is not a paper where I can think of acing it, but I have to somewhere put a decent show forward. And it had happened in CA IPCC last paper, ITSM or EISSM, what you guys call. It was paper 7 during our times. And generally, as you even would know, an 8 marks question of flowchart, EIS mein se, is always expected in every paper. And I had done a fairly decent analysis. And in the last 4-5 papers which I had seen, there was 8 marks of flowchart, the easiest question you can attempt, and only question you can attempt confidently in the EIS part of the paper. Paper comes, 15 minutes of reading time. We all see the paper, and there is no flowchart question. So EIS-SM paper is basically the one where we invariably try to salvage those 40-50 marks, whatever we can get. And even among that, there is 8 marks of question which we always expect from flowchart. There is no flowchart question in our paper during our attempt. So I had my friend who was sitting just 2 benches apart, and the first 5 minutes we are just looking at each other. Everybody goes in the paper with a game plan, and whatever we had planned is falling apart. So yeah, I had to be there and put my best foot forward in those 3 hours. And every time someone left the exam hall, I was like, मुझे 40 नहीं लाना है, मुझे खाली वो top 5-10% लोगों में आना है जो इस पेपर को क्लियर करेंगे. So every time somebody left an exam hall, I said, okay, my probability gets increased कि अभी मैं क्लियर करेगा. And best part, Harleen, is that वो 3 घंटे के पेपर में ना, there were not even 20 to 30% of the original crowd during the last 1 hour. It was that difficult a paper. तो होता है ऐसा. It's all about not impacting the next paper because of your past performance. The second example I can quote is CA final SFM paper, a fairly easy paper. Like there was not many things that someone would say it's a difficult paper. And even I was confident about having written a very decent paper. I come home, I try to relax. All of a sudden I realize a mistake I would have never done 99 times at home. I did it 100th time in the exam hall. And there is nothing you can do about it. चलो एग्जाम के टाइम रियलाइज हुआ ना, कुछ तो कर सकते हो. घर आने के बाद अभी क्या करोगे? So then it's all about कि नेक्स्ट पेपर जो ऑडिट है वैसे भी डिफिकल्ट है, वैसे भी काफी पढ़ना पड़ता है, उस पे इम्पैक्ट नहीं डालना है. तो दैट वाज समथिंग आई लर्न ड्यूरिंग दिस कोर्स, हाउ टू हैंडल प्रेशर. मे बी पहले उतना अच्छा नहीं करता था, लेकिन इस कोर्स ने मुझे सिखाया कि हाउ प्रेशर हैज टू बी हैंडल्ड, बिकॉज एवरीबडी प्रिपेयर्स बट इट्स अबाउट द मेंटल गेम एट द एंड ऑफ द डे.
Next thing, like, did you ever have those moments when you didn't feel like studying? Like, CA is a long 5-year journey. The syllabus is huge. So, did you ever feel that?
So, firstly, foundation level or the CPT level during our times was relatively easier. It's still the easiest level of CA, even if at that age and at that level of maturity, still a task to clear CA foundation. From CA inter and final onwards, yes, there were moments where, let's say I had a target set and it was not being achieved. And then the trouble began, because most of the times the target I set was not being achieved. I achieved till 80-85% of the target set. Then somebody told me ki Aashay, there is the problem with the target you are setting rather than your sincerity towards the studies. Ek kaam kar, you are anyways very much optimistic. That was what I was told. तो जो भी तू target set करेगा ना, even if you cover 80% of that target, feel happy about yourself. And then that was generally how I approached the target setting. Then yes, there were days when I just didn't feel like studying. I felt like I don't know what I'm doing. I had books in front of me, but I didn't have the will to study. But then I realized that then there are some days when I study more than what I would expect myself to do. So somewhere it balances out. तो मैंने ना कभी डेली टारगेट नहीं सेट करा. इट वाज ऑलवेज अ वीकली और अ फोर्टनाइटली टारगेट, so that you don't feel bad about yourself for not doing something in a day. Secondly, what I would like to strictly advise everybody, even during this CA phase, couple of things are non-negotiable. Studies are important, but they are not more important than health. Definitely not. So one thing that you should not be changing is your sleep schedule. Whatever sleep hours you require, some require 6 hours, some require 7 hours, some requires 8 hours, कुछ लोग उससे भी ज्यादा, लेकिन that is again not medically advisable. But stick to that sleeping pattern. मतलब कम सो के ज्यादा पढ़ाई करना is not recommended, at least when you are going to study for 5.5 months of studying. So don't compromise on the sleep schedule. Second thing, do some activity, at least little of it, wherein you can sweat out. थोड़ा वर्कआउट करो, कुछ स्पोर्ट्स खेलते हो तो वो खेलो, थोड़ा एक टाइम डेडिकेट करना पूरे दिन का, wherein you ensure that you are also challenging your body to do something. It's not always about the mind. CA कोर्स में ना फिट रहना भी उतना ही रेलेवेंट है. In case you fall ill, just because of your unhealthy lifestyle during that phase, it becomes difficult to cover up the syllabus as well. So that's something I would tell everybody. Health and sleep are non-negotiable. And if you feel bored, it is not criminal to do something you like. Maybe din ka 1 ghanta you can spare for your hobbies. Somebody likes dancing, he can dance. Somebody likes playing a sport, he can go down and society mein khele, kidhar bahar khele. Somebody likes watching a web series. Agar control rahega to he can do that as well. So yeah, CA course and the journey is not only about studying, it is about managing everything along with studies.
How would you say that your life has changed after becoming a CA, comparing the prior life to this life?
So I would say in a couple of ways. It firstly, externally speaking, yes, CA makes you more employable. It gives you an exposure. Articleships helps shape your personality. Also, it adds on to your CV. So CA course still remains one of the most challenging courses in our country. And that's the reason any chartered accountant is highly revered by the society. It makes you employable in most of the commerce related industries. At the same time, it also gives you exposure about certain things. Matlab, it at least makes you a jack of many things, if not master of few. And talking of how internally it changes you. So if I would have to compare myself, who I was 5 years back, to who I am at today, definitely there is a lot of scope of further improvement as well. But I would say I am much better person than who I was. CA helped me cope up with the pressure situations in a much better way. It helped me to keep a calm mind. It helped me to grasp a lot of concepts simultaneously. It helped me to balance and multitask between the articleship work and the academics, as well as some of my hobbies and interests. So yeah, CA helps you in multiple ways. And yeah, many will question what is the relevance of this particular paper in the CA course. But at the end of the day, somewhere or the other, it impacts your personality. It helps you develop an understanding of things beyond your core area. So yeah, it helps everybody be a better person, and it had helped me personally as well a lot.
So did you have someone in your CA journey who played the role of a mentor to you?
So yeah, definitely, I would say any challenging part of your life or academics is incomplete without a mentor. I was very lucky to have various mentors during the entire journey since CA, CPT to CA final and even beyond. And many of them helped me in various facets. Somewhere I did not exactly know how to approach a particular subject. I would call somebody, a senior, which I know was much better at that. I would ask him, how did you manage to do it? He would tell me, and that guidance helped me shape my pattern of studying for that subject. Then there were times I did not feel very positive about myself, and it happens to everybody. Even the most optimistic person will have a time where he's like, what am I exactly doing here? Am I giving justice to what I should be doing? So ये सब thoughts तो आते रहते हैं. So I had certain set of people who I used to contact when I had these kind of moments. Then sometimes the pressure of curriculum as a whole got better of me. Then again, I had certain seniors who helped me cope with that as well. And couple of people that I would like to specifically mention. The first one was my uncle. He stays at Singapore. And every time I felt like I'm not doing justice to this course, I used to call him up that, Kaka, this is something which is happening with me right now. I'm not feeling very positive. And he used to narrate the incidences during his articleship या study leave period. That was definitely 25 years prior, but it helped me understand how this impacts everybody. And then he told me how different this exam is. So it helped me shape the study pattern and the planning before I started with the exam preparation. The second is the second mentors, I would like to call them, is my team in one of the big fours. And I'm very lucky to be blessed by these nice guys. we had senior managers, we had managers who generally never allowed me to compromise on my studies as well. Definitely there was work and they expected me to do it. But then whenever the class timings, especially in the evening, used to clash with the late sittings, they most of the times allowed me. And they were like, Aashay, you should attend the classes. Kaam to chalte rahega. After class, you can work. But you becoming a CA is also equally important for us. Then I was blessed with my immediate senior, who also gladly happens to be one of my best friends even today. He used to encourage me. And one thing that he told me, and which is still so much relevant today, he told me that, Aashay, I agree that CA is something very important, very critical, but you should not make CA your sole identity. Once you become CA, you should not be only known as a chartered accountant. You should have various facets to your personality beyond that degree as well. So yeah, you have a very important task at hand, but definitely there are other things in life beyond CA. So explore that as well, not just academically, but other things as well. So these guys played a very important role, and I was very fortunate to have mentors like them.
So would you like to share some of your mentorship experience with Vision C, as you are one of the core members?
Yeah, definitely. So firstly, Vision CA as an initiative was started almost, I think, 1 year, 2 months from today. And I was very fortunate to be one of the very first mentors to be associated with Vision CA. And when I talk to the mentees, I feel like I'm going through all that phase once again. It's a deja vu for me as well. And I enjoy, like there were certain pitfalls that I did during my course, and I want most of them not to repeat it. So I keep on telling them, hammering them to the extent possible, not to do this, do this. So it helps me revisit my journey as well. And as far as Vision CA as an institute or as an initiative is concerned, it feels so glad to be part of it, because all the guys, including the core members, including the co-founders, are all working somewhere or the other. So despite our busy schedules, somewhere everybody of us have a drive to try and make it easier for the CA students who are right now facing the troubles we used to face to the extent possible. Then there is a Vision CA has in fact innovated and improved on itself as well during the past 1 year. We have come to realize that each student in different levels of CA exam and also in different time period has different issues which he is facing. जैसे planning का issue invariably happens, let's say around 1 or 1.5 years before your exam is scheduled. Then execution ka issues generally happen around 5-6 months before the exam. Then Aashay bhaiya vaat lag gayi hai, kuch padhai nahi hua hai. This kind of reaction is expected around 2 months before the exam is there. Tell me what I should do during the last 105 days. मैं टेस्ट सीरीज कहां से करूं, क्या करूं? So ना हमको भी अभी पता चल गया है कि being mentors in 2 or 3 attempts, we exactly know कौन से phase में क्या problem face हो सकता है. And Vision C always tries to bring up new and new initiatives. Jesse, now you have started with a mentorship podcast, and this interview is also part of it, I am told. So many students who are clueless about how to plan it, how to execute it, might just see some of these interviews and understand कि क्या approach हमारे seniors ने रखा था. Vision C also started with test series. As a pilot, we started and successfully conducted the Vision CA test series for the final level. We also have the papers available at inter level. Then Vision CA comes up with various initiatives. Many times students ना, they know a roadmap till CA, लेकिन उनको मालूम नहीं रहता CA तो मैं बन गया. You ask anybody who is in the course, including maybe Harleen yourself, कि what is your goal, what is your mission, and you are like मुझे CA बनना है. Now that you are a CA, अब क्या is a big question mark in front of everybody. So we also started with a wing that is career mentorship, and we have very esteemed people at the highest levels of various industries which help cater to this question which most of the CA students face. So Vision CA is adapting in a brilliant way, and I feel very very happy to be part of it. And हाँ, हम लोग का एक meme page भी है. Just let me tell about that. Vision CA is not about studies. We also encourage studies in such a manner that a student enjoys the whole journey. So we also started with a meme page. Even that is doing wonders. So many responses and so many different memes that we are receiving, and we are showcasing it. तो मतलब मजा आता है ये सब प्रोसेस में. इट्स वेरी मच एंजॉयबल एंड इट कंप्लीट्स माय डे एज अ होल. ऐसा होता ही नहीं है कि कोई दिन विजन सीए वाला कोई चीज किया नहीं. सो इट्स फन.
Coming to my experience 3 months back, like I'm from a non-CA background, so I didn't have any mentor during my inter preparation. 3 months back, I didn't know even a single CA, and now I'm able to interact with CA, so it's a great platform.
That's the reason many of the students, you are from Meerut, to the extent I know. So especially from the tier 2 cities, I'm not saying
I was a science student, so I had no clue. So yeah. So
basically, I think we should conduct your interview as well. Let me have the pleasure of interviewing you. Being a science student, studying biology, physics, still, then definitely will see that. But studying biology and physics or chemistry till 12th standard, you switched on with somebody who has studied accounts and other aspects of commerce for 2 years. You competed, and at CA Inter, you actually have a rank to boast of. That's a phenomenal achievement, Harleen.
Thank you.
So yeah, what I was saying is many of the students, especially from tier 2 cities, have no one to look up to. In a way, they have professors. Many of them are opt for pen drive classes, but they don't have many seniors कि जिन्होंने पिछले 2 या 3 साल में क्लियर किया है, who can give them a roadmap कि ये अप्रोच फॉलो करेगा तो शायद बेनिफिट ज्यादा है. तो फॉर देम विजन सीए इज एन इनिशिएटिव, एंड हमारा ना मेन पर्पस वही था. सीए कम्युनिटी को तो एक साथ करना ही है, साथ में सीए स्टूडेंट्स स्पेशली फ्रॉम द फार ऑफ प्लेसेस. द आइडिया इज टू रीच द लास्ट स्टूडेंट स्टैंडिंग इन सम रिमोट विलेज, इन सम रिमोट एरिया ऑफ इंडिया, एंड हेल्प हिम कनेक्ट with the CAs of the last 2 or 3 years. They are the best guides you guys can have. Now we have started with the inter mentorship, and we try to give the mentors which have just cleared CA Inter to those students. Harleen is one of them. Many of them are rankers. So definitely we are also adapting ourselves to the changing times, and it's very much fun to do all these activities.
Coming to what you are currently doing, like you're currently pursuing LLB. So how did you decide that, and how did you decide to teach along with it?
Yeah. So coming to the LLB part of the question, I was introduced to the subject of law at the CA foundation level at CA CPT. But even before that, the joke is that since I was used to arguing so much with the teachers, na, they used to call me, "Tu na vakil banega bada hoke." So somewhere it was back of my mind. Definitely CA was a choice I had made, and CA foundation I got introduced to the subject of law, and I really loved the subject. At foundation you have certain very basic laws like contract or sale of goods, but वो भी पढ़ते time ना मतलब एक interest था मेरा. CA inter and CA final I used to look at the subject of law or law based subject, be it taxation, be it the corporate law, everything, as my fortresses, as those subjects where I will be trying to maximize the gains in terms of marks. And I studied in that manner. I enjoyed studying each and every aspect of it. And then during the CA final, I made a call कि नहीं मुझे LLB भी करना चाहिए. आगे जाके क्या करना is a very different question, but I should be doing LLB as well. And in fact, I gave the Maharashtra CET, law CET, which is there for LLB colleges, 3 years course, in between my CA final exam. मतलब 31st May को I had audit paper, 4th June को I had my law paper, और बीच में एक दिन वो एग्जाम था, जाके हिम्मत करके दे दिया था. I would say पागलपंती थी. I would not advise anybody to do it, but कर दिया था मैंने वो. तो yeah, LLB is working wonders for me. I'm in the 3rd year right now. Talking of teaching, once again, fond of public speaking, was fond of explain certain concepts, and somewhere it rubbed off even during the CA course. So many times it used to happen that I would explain a concept to one of my friends, and I would love that fact. मतलब जनरली वैसा होता है ना कि यार CA कोर्स के टाइम फ्रेंड्स के साथ कांटेक्ट मिनिमल रखो, Don't try to be too much on the phone answering somebody else's doubt. But I loved this aspect as well. So after choosing to do LLB, I was like, rather than searching for a corporate job, it's always better that I stick to my strengths and try to give justice to who I am more than what the society wants. And that's when I started with my journey as a teacher. It's been 1.5 years. And I would say it's been so much fun interacting with so many students at all the 3 levels across certain classes in Mumbai. So yeah, kafi maza aa raha hai, to be honest.
That's really great.
It's like you're giving back to the CA community what you got from the course. So there is a feeling of satisfaction. There is a feeling of entitlement at the end of the day. It's like I'm doing some good work. Maza aa raha hai, waisa.
That's really great. Like any tips that you would like to give the students in general, like not particular to any topic?
Certain tips, yeah. Pehla baat, you are doing this course out of your own free will. If there is anybody out there who is being pushed into any course, I'm not just talking specifically about CA, till the time he falls in love with that course, he'll not be able to give justice to his talent there. So if you are not following your passion or you are not doing it out of your own free will, it gets very difficult. Start loving it. Then second thing I would once again reiterate is that studies is not everything during the course. Health is more important than studies. So sound sleep and a healthy workout schedule always helps you. Another thing is stop comparing. Stop comparing. मेरा best friend कितना hours पढ़ रहा है, मैं कितना hours पढ़ रहा हूँ, it doesn't matter in the long run. Because number of hours is like how many balls you played in a test match. अरे क्या फर्क पड़ता है, runs बनाने से मतलब है. So as long as you are able to grasp the concepts and you are able to stick to your schedule, you are doing a good job. It doesn't matter whether you have capacity to study 6 hours or 10 hours, or in some interviews I have heard 15 or 16 hours भी बोला है कुछ लोग ने. तो काफी negative pressure create होता है वो सबसे. So I would like to tell, number of hours doesn't matter as long as you are true to the targets you have set. And lastly, we always keep on looking at the destination. कि मुझे CA बनना है, and somewhere we are told CA बनना is the most beautiful thing. And during that journey now we lose sight of how beautiful the journey is. Because many times under the pressure of only performing for the exam, we fail to realize how elegant certain theories are, how great certain concepts are, or how nicely framed certain legislations are. Or we fail to realize कि हम internally as a person भी कितना change हो रहे हैं. कि let's say I was not very good at multitasking around 5 years back. Today I am a decent multitasker. So that's something everybody sees themselves. तो ना ये journey भी उतना ही beautiful है, उसको भी enjoy करो. And don't always be under that pressure of the exams. But करना है तो पूरे passion के साथ करना है. Half measures नहीं लेना है, किसी के लिए नहीं करना है. करना है तो खुद को justify करने के लिए करना है. And I want all of you guys to not be worrying about the result after the exam. थोड़ा बहुत तो रहता है hesitation, क्या आएगा मालूम नहीं. But इस प्रकार से effort डालो. Try to passionately go after the course in such a manner that you are having a sound sleep after paper number 8 or paper number 4 of your CA journey. कि मतलब I know I have given my best. Now everything rest depends upon various aspects not within my control. मैंने खुद को justice दिया है. ये satisfaction अगर last paper attempt करने के बाद रहेगा and you sleep peacefully, I think you have achieved your objectives. Marks or rank are just byproduct of it.
Completely agree with that. So I got to learn a lot from your whole journey and like current experience. It was great talking to you.
Yeah, it was my pleasure as well to be part of this mentorship podcast program that you guys are doing. And you guys are doing a phenomenal job to the extent we all know. You have your articleship, but at the same time, you are trying to contribute some way or the other for these kind of initiatives. So thank you from Vision C on behalf of Vision CA to you as well.